One thing I wanted to share with you with this camera, with this cool setting. I finished my meditation today, and in my last meditations, it's been maybe a month that I'm working a lot on happiness. I'm working a lot on introspection. I'm working a lot on, instead of trying to understand everything by learning outside, by going outside, I also making myself all the questions that I want answers to, even deep questions. In the video that I made talking about Sadhguru and all the other people that I follow, you guys mentioned Jiddu Krishnamurti, and I didn't know him before, and now I made a lot of research about him. I bought a book out of him, and also I watched videos about him and understood many things. I actually really enjoy that person, and I understood by watching him too that you should strive for responsibility. You should strive to understand everything on your own, asking yourself the deeper questions instead of looking for answers elsewhere, in people, in activities, in everything you do. Try to seek it within, and this changed a lot. And also the book that I'm reading lately, it's called The Courage to be Disliked. I really recommend it. It's a Japanese philosopher based on the psychanalysis of Adler, which talks about happiness, talks about comparison with others, complex of inferiority, superiority, and it's changed me a lot. And I understood many different things lately, and this made actually my relationships way better. Why? First of all, I understood that, as I told you before, taking accountability, responsibility for myself, understanding that not identifying with my mind, my thoughts, and time will make me fearless, will make me. What creates fear? If you think about it, time and thought are the main thing that create fear. And so by not identifying with time and thought, understanding that they are necessary physically but not mentally, you can slowly work on your awareness to let them out of your awareness, let them out of your inner mental realm. And so I'm working on it with meditation, and I've been working on it a lot lately. But also understanding, okay, what's fear, right? But what is also happiness? And I understood that instead of working on trying to be positive, trying to be happy, trying to do all these different things, I understood you don't have to be positive. You just have to not create negative situations. Darkness is just the absence of light. Evil is just the absence of goodness. So instead of trying to be positive and happy, people should strive to not create for themselves negative situations, negative contexts. You cannot fight darkness, evil, negativity. You can only bring light, positivity, goodness. So work with what you have. Instead of fighting darkness, which is not an entity, you bring light, and darkness disappears by itself, by its own nature. And once you become more peaceful like this, you understand, okay, now I'm peaceful, I'm a bit more fearless, I'm a bit more still. Now, what it is that I'm seeking beyond this body, beyond this mind? If you think about it, what you are seeking is what all religions, well, all spirituality is all about, and they're all trying to say to you for a long time. It is a sense of community. It is a feeling of contribution. For a human being, the greatest source of unhappiness is not being able to like himself, namely the feeling of I'm of use to someone, I am beneficial to the community, is the only thing that can give someone a true sense of awareness of one's worth. In a word, happiness is the feeling of contribution. Not necessarily in doing something, but in being. And that's what spirituality comes and it's all about. and from all these wanting to feel worth and like themselves. Instead of wanting this sense of contribution, they start to seek recognition and they start all these complex things. Basically, what a human being wants is union. And what is in Sanskrit union? It's yoga. You, yourself, your being, your inner core is already in communion with everything else. It's just your mind, your body that created boundaries. So instead of using the mind as a tool, you are used by the mind and you get to think. And as I told you before, it creates fear. And the deeper you try to think on how to be happy, the further away and the deeper you get into this darkness and forget about the simple light and aim that you had in the beginning, which is just union. So if you stop identifying with the mind, with all these complexities that it creates, because this sense of getting deeper, it makes you feel more and more detached by others because it gets you away from the core. You start feeling lonely. Lonely gets to depression. Depression gets to anxiety and all these things. Instead, if you learn with meditation, with inner work, to peel off this stratus, this wrong identification with the mind, you get out of this darkness, you get awakened, you get to this light and back to your original self, attached to nothing, connected to everything. Because yes, once you are outside of your mind, you are the real self, your consciousness is in the real self, you are already connected to everything. You don't have any more boundaries besides your physical one, which is just temporary. But you also need to work on that fearlessness, on that freedom. Because yes, happiness is this sense of community, but with freedom. As I told you, attached to nothing, connected to everything, which is yoga. If you think about it, everything that you've always done, that you've always thought in your experience of moments of happiness, were when you were totally present, so free and outside of your mind. And present means that you are in community with everything else. You have this sense of contribution. You have, when you try to marry someone, what you're trying to do is you unite with somebody else. When you love, you try to unite. When you hate, it's just because you want to unite, but you cannot. You hate these people because you don't want, you don't accept them as they are, because you want to unite with things that you are. It's all a matter of wanting to get back to your origin, which is being with everything else. Because if you get rid of your persona, of your character, you are actually part of everything else. We are all part of this earth, of this universe, of this whatever you want, this God, as you prefer. It's just that we see these limitations, we see these boundaries, and once we learn to become present, free, and with this sense of yoga, this community, we learn to be boundless even consciously, and that is transformation. Also because like that, you learn to use your tools, like the mind and the body, instead of being identified with them. You used to learn to use them, you learn to use them with clarity. So consciously, you can use them with awareness and for you, instead of being against you. Instead of auto-sabotage, you use them for your own sake, doing the best of what you can with what you have right in front of you. And so you also become of use, better use to your community, to people around you. So attached to nothing, connected to everything, yin and yang. So as I also understood in my inner path once, I was trying to understand for myself, but what it is that I truly really like, not conditioned by nothing, but what it is, my true passion. And I spent so long thinking about it, and in the end I understood that the only thing that actually makes me naturally feel good, in my mind, it was serving others, helping others. And now I understand that actually everything that you do is about that. It's just that your mind gets complex, and so you do the same thing. You want this all union with everything, but you do it with a mask, with different filters, in a different way. You try to get to the same thing with different words, with different things. It also depends on the situations that you are. But in being and in the way you are, freedom, And it is the same thing. And so it's getting back to your origins. Before even being yourself, creating yourself as a character, as an ego, as a persona. So yoga, as I've written down here, so I noticed everything that I've done is all about that. Yoga or spiritual work is just to get rid of these complexities and stop identifying with things you're not, so you can see with clarity that union is all you're fundamentally seeking. A deep sense of freedom and belonging. And everything we've always tried to do, depending on time, depending on geography and different things, it was always the same. And if you want to call it as something, it's called union, yoga, same thing. Let me know what you think. Thanks guys for watching. Oh, and also, of course, if you become conscious of how you use your mind, you stop creating these complexities, you stop creating these things in your mind, and so you become present, and so you stop creating that darkness, and so you always, of course, naturally be positive, because it's your natural state of being if you don't interfere with your mind. You're loving, you're joyful by your own nature. You're like a rock. Nothing externally can impact you if you don't want to. You create your own destiny. And so, instead of eliminating darkness, you bring the light. You exit this darkness. Thanks guys for watching.